friendly.
Absolutely.
Did I miss some Wakanda love in there, Kristen?
I think you might have. I didn't see it. Do you have that information?
I know Memorial Day is kind of a big deal in Wakanda.
Oh,
We're
okay.
actually going to be a sponsor in that for Wakanda Screams for Ice Cream, so that's a great one.
Oh, cool.
They like to brag about their fireworks show, which
Nice.
obviously is kind of Lakemore. Everybody rants about those ones, so
Yeah.
people love that. So
Yeah.
kind of a little friendly competition going on there.
So you
Nice.
guys kind of go at it.
A little bit.
Little
It's kind of
rivalry?
recently happened with this ice cream discussion that we're going to get into, too, so it's kind of
cool.
sparked it up a little bit.
Do you ever aim the fireworks at each other?
You know, that would be great. I do have some stories from the fireworks show. I went to my first one last year that we probably can't talk about on air, but and then I know particularly we are doing the, I want to say July 28th is the actual triathlon, which is kind of a big thing out there, and I'm looking to participate in that one as well, too. So
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad we got some Wakanda blood in the room.
Yeah, thank you.
representing Lake County, even that far south end.
Oh my goodness, absolutely.
Great. You got anything else, Chris?
That's what I've got for now.
Okay, great. So because we talked too much, I'm a little bit behind schedule, but I do want to now do a full introduction of J.R. Myers. J.R. Myers is a resident of Wakanda. He's lived there for 14 years. It looked like in the video I watched online, you've got two kids and one kid and one on the way?
So I've got one kid and one on the way, which hasn't been announced publicly yet, other than till last night. So
Okay.
yes.
I was like, oh boy. Did I just blow a secret?
It's on YouTube, so yes.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I think what he said, I have to go because I got to go pick up my
you'll
pregnant mom.
You'll see my little guy in the video too. Obviously, mom's at
Aw.
work when we do these meetings, so
Yeah.
he's right there.
How old's the little oldest?
Just turned a year 3 weeks ago, so
oh, okay.
wow,
So he's got no idea
congratulations.
what a sibling is.
no, not yet.
That's cool. But as any parent, especially, Wakanda is one of those communities. It's like, it reminds me of a little bit of Libertyville. It reminds me of Antioch. It's got a real nice, warm downtown feel. People are generally close. Everyone knows each other. That's my impression of Wakanda. Am I close?
I would say you're spot on. So I grew up in Lake Zurich, and I didn't start getting out in Wakanda and appreciating it probably a couple of years ago. But I get out and every day you go out for a walk, everybody's saying hi and hello, and you get to know everybody in the neighborhood. So it's great to just walk out your door and run into somebody you know and get that warm town feel. So
I agree
you are
with
close.
that. I've shown some houses in Wakanda, and even just in the time that I've been in an area to just open a door and bring someone through a house, neighbors have stopped by to say hello and introduce themselves and welcome someone to hopefully buy the house there,
Yeah, and that's
which
cool.
never happens. They're so kind.
And it's a hot market. It's hard to get a house in Wakanda. You can get a house, but a house that meets your needs is the hard part.
Right? And then we had a show about that recently where we said if you can't find a house that meets your needs in your budget, find one that doesn't meet your needs and make it yours. That's kind of like what the people who are doing that now are going to really be glad they did in 10, 15 years. But Wakanda is like one of the closest communities to what I think. What's the artist who draws the Saturday Evening Post paintings? Norman Rockwell. It's kind of have that kind of American, old-timey, nostalgic feel. It just kind of feels like a community that's a step back. People take their time. That's not rushing. The shops look good. The streets look good. The homes are well kept and cared for. And surprisingly, I just learned this recently, that Wakanda is one of the few communities that prohibit ice cream trucks
What?
traveling through the community. Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Why?
That is generally everybody's reaction.
Crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
So
Okay.
basically, they're saying at this point it's kind of changed gears here. It was for safety reasons, one of them being child abduction, but obviously that was
Child abduction.
Yeah, I know that was one of the crazy ones where we first started, and then it got into the safety of the kids running after trucks and out in the streets. But we've asked them to show cases where that's happened from all our neighbors, as you mentioned, and there's no cases. Mundelein recently allowed it, I believe, in 2016, and haven't had any instances. So now they're going with the protect the brick and mortar aspect, which is a reasonable solution.
I'm sympathetic
problem, yeah.
to that argument.
Yes, I definitely agree.
Right, but it needs a high resolution analysis. It can't be low resolution.
Right.
Well, to be fair, if you don't mind that I just interject.
Oh, yeah,
real
absolutely.
quick. I mean, as a parent of small kids, right? I can definitely say, and someone who was once a child, I can definitely say that driving to any of the brick and mortar ice cream shops is not going to give you that same feeling of absolute elation that
Correct.
hearing the ice cream truck music is ever going to give you.
So you just touched on it right there. The argument now is at this last meeting that Dick actually had the pleasure of watching. Nostalgia is what they're concentrating on now, and they just can't see the value of the nostalgia to allow the effect to the brick and mortars, which has been shown to be little to none. And we've tried to do it in a respectful manner with them to figure it out. Obviously, these trucks will not be on Main Street or anything like that. And people have said, so I live far out. How am I supposed to necessarily gather up my kids for 45 minutes, getting all the car seats and everything?
Yeah.
Go to the I don't want to name drop places here,
Yeah.
but like the Dairy Queen or whatever. And
I don't want to name drop, but I'm going to name drop.
I figured that's a chain, so I figured that's okay.
Yeah.
And Dairy Queen has been great through this actually too.
Sure.
So we've talked to them, and
Oh, okay. They're supportive.
I wouldn't say they're supportive, but they're understanding
Not
of the
sweet,
situation.
okay.
So they said it would probably affect their business a little bit, understandably. But I mean,
They're
that's
two
obviously a
completely different
concern.
experiences,
That's what
though.
everybody's saying. They're saying honestly, if I get my kid an ice cream in the streets, we're still gonna go get that Dairy Queen at night. If I want a Blizzard, I'm gonna go get a Blizzard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, I'm just using them as the example because they're obviously the big chain that everybody knows.
Well,
And
as
I
a
know the family, and they're a
consumer-
great family too. So
Yeah.
They don't have soft serve on ice cream trucks. It's
prepackaged ice cream.
yeah, exactly.
totally
so it's two different
different.
things.
When I grew up, we had Mr. Softy.
Really?
I loved Mr. Softy. Yeah, and it was a
Wow.
double cone with the, on both sides.
Huh.
That's actually the running joke. Is one of the trustees actually said, "You can go get this at Ace Hardware." I don't know who's going to Ace Hardware for their ice cream needs, but
That's
I
so
don't know.
interesting to
Menards
me.
has that chest right by the cash register,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they always get my kids because it's really low, and
Yep.
they can look in there and pick their Twix ice
Nothing
cream Twix.
brings
or-
nothing
That's-
brings back memories from the days I went out with my dad, and we'd go down to the beach and stop at Lowe's on the way home for ice cream.
Yeah,
That's
right.
so
Great
interesting
memories.
to me, though, that they can't see the value in
Yeah,
the
it's-
nostalgia, considering that millennials are the majority of parents now of young kids.
Right.
And we are the nostalgia generation.
Right.
I mean, just look at all of the resurgence of shows that are making a killing right
Yep.
now because it triggers our nostalgia.
Yep.
We're all about that. In fact, just the other week, I had to have been last week. Yeah, I was visiting with my mom, and I had my kids with me, and my niece, who's the same age as my 5-year-old, was there as well. And I heard the ice cream truck music, and it occurred to me that it's the first time I've really heard it in that area in a
Yep.
long time. And I was looking around at the kids, ready for them to be like, ice cream, but no one knew what the music
Yep,
meant. And I was
absolutely.
like, how do we not know what that is? Guys, come on, let's
Yep.
go right now. And I
Right.
raced them to the streets, and it's interesting that they bring up running as an issue. So, as the parent of an autistic child who tends to run all the time, that still wasn't necessarily a top concern of mine at the moment. I mean,
Sure.
I held her hand, made sure she stayed safe, normal parent responsibilities.
Sure.
And,
what's funny is,
and we ran
we-
straight out there, and they were so happy.
We've got a funny thing in our house where we say to the kids when they hear the ice cream truck music, it means they're out of ice cream. So tell me, JR, a little bit more about your efforts. What have you done to start lobbying and activating the community on this?
Gotcha. Just real quick. So the nostalgia people throughout Phil's Beach that recently got renovated as an
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
and they're doing a mural that they want to incorporate the Blues Brothers into. So clearly nostalgia is alive and well in Wakanda.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, so the things I've done is obviously, so last year we started this. I got reached out by somebody in my neighborhood because we had a garage sale event, and they found out that they weren't allowed on the streets. People knew my history with the village board meetings. They said, hey, can you present this to the board? And I was like, absolutely. So I went through all the avenues of talking to the mayor and everything. Got told, basically, so you got to go through the EDC. Once it gets up here, it's virtually passed, and then we might iron out details. So I did everything he did, wasted the whole summer, got all the work done, passed the EDC 4-2, only to find out that exactly, only to find out it got fast tracked after we got through the EDC. If they did a straw poll, so we thought there was going to be another EDC. They did not do that. It got fast tracked in November to the actual board meeting. They did not allow the EDC chair, who's also a trustee, to give her discussion and discovery to the board.
Okay.
There was clearly a fast track vote that she had no idea was even going to happen, so they voted it down 5-1 without discussion. So we gathered obviously, and food trucks have jumped on our community as well too, helped grow the cause a little bit. Kind of what you said, people are finding out, hey, we don't know what an ice cream truck is, but now that we know it, we want it.
Yeah.
We had it growing up. We never thought of it. We didn't know they weren't allowed, but yeah, why aren't we getting that?
Yeah.
So we were able to get this trustee that voted yes to actually bring it up on the discussion again this year. Last night was the vote, and unfortunately we did not get that second motion, even though members of the community did turn out. That was their big holdup. We don't see members turn out for the community. So members did show up. 5 of them spoke, and there was clearly more there in support. If you watch the speeches online, they're great. People brought their kids, everything. There was no reason to look, because that's why I said, look these kids in the eyes and tell them no.
You can't have ice cream.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they did.
Insane.
Interesting. So do you have an ice cream truck?
You know, that's the crazy thing is people ask me that all the time, and no, I do not. I'm not going to lie. I looked into it. It wouldn't be profitable the first year, so and my
Sure.
busy season like yours is summer, so it wouldn't be feasible. But it was an interesting. But no, I do not have an ice cream truck.
So you don't have any personal incentive other than just, hey, I think this would be good for the community.
Like I said, it was something I could easily get behind because I loved it growing up, and absolutely, I've got kids now, and I, pardon my French, I don't know if we're allowed to swear. I'll be damned
No,
if
you
my
can't. Yeah, you can say damned.
okay. I'll be damned if my kid's not going to have ice cream.
It's interesting. You had said, look these people in the face and tell them. Look these kids in the face and tell them. So, as someone with a political background, I'll tell you one of the things that does bother me. I understand people have reasons for supporting it or not supporting it. I'm not going to assume their motives. I'm not going to, and I've seen some people saying, "Oh, they're in the pockets of big ice cream." Come on,
Yeah.
that's not happening. But when a trustee brings something up for a motion and it's a reasonable thing to discuss, they should get even a courtesy second so it can be brought up to a vote so the record could be clear about where people sit on the issue. That vote should be record. And I think it's kind of a wimp's way out to not provide that second so a vote can be heard. The public should know who's where on what.
That was exactly my perception as well, too, and I feel like it was calculated, but at the very least, that's why we got it on camera, and so everybody has record. I don't know how many people watch those, but at least it is on that record that way, so.
So
Yeah.
what would be your next steps then?
Well, hold on a second.
Okay.
The when just kind of rules of order when it comes to, some people might say, and this is a lesson for anyone who sits on a board. If you make a motion, you're not allowed to argue against the motion because it's your motion. But if you second it, you are allowed to.
Sure.
So even if you want to say some negative things in opposition to what's on the ballot, giving that second to the motion. And what's actually interesting, and I do credit this, and I'm sure it's a mistake, an accidental mistake, which is a good thing. Technically, they're not even allowed to discuss it until there's that second to the motion.
Sure, right.
So the first and second comes before discussion and then a vote, not the discussion, then a first and second. So whatever. But like I said, at least they got to talk about it, so people spoke what they
Yes.
were thinking. I have to say my personal opinion is, and this is meaningless to anyone, I don't live in Wakanda, right? But most of the arguments I don't give credit to. I don't think there's a outweighed safety issue. If you ask, well, let's look at the numbers. How many people were injured in ice cream truck collisions or accidents or what? And then say, okay, well, what if they got into a car, drove through downtown, went through an intersection? How many accidents occurred there? So to say that one person could have gotten hurt isn't enough for me. You'd have to prove to me that there's an overwhelming majority of probability that they're likely to get hurt in that
Which
scenario.
is what we asked for, is the actual proof, which they could not provide or chose not to provide.
Yeah. But the argument that I am sympathetic to is the brick and mortar argument. Okay. So I'd like to discuss that actually, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
The one trustee who spoke in favor of it, I don't know her name. If you want to share it, you can.
Jen Kuhn.
Jen Kuhn. Okay. She offered what I thought was a brilliant compromise, which was, okay, if you don't want people coming and competing with the ice cream shops, what if you went to the ice cream shops and says, hey, do you want a license to drive around the communities and sell ice cream?
Absolutely. And I agree, totally give them the opportunity first. And if they can't give that, then explore the other options if possible. And like you said, try it out and come to we all got to get together and have the discussion was the whole point of this. And they obviously refused to do that. And that was a great compromise on her part.
Yeah, and I didn't see anyone directly respond to that suggestion.
Correct.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry, Kristen. What were you wanting to say?
No, that's okay. So you had the meeting. It was struck down. What now?
So we're actually in discussions with people, including yourselves, which we're great for being here. We want to get the word out. Like I said, outside communities have been great too. Some were from Wakanda, some have friends in Wakanda, and they've been helping this platform grow in that way. So we definitely want to get the word out. We've reached out to news agencies, but that obviously hasn't happened. But you guys are great, so we totally appreciate that. There's been talk of getting it on the referendum for the ballot. I don't know what that looks like yet, but give the power back to the people to make that vote. And then obviously there's been talk of changing out the people in the political platform in Wakanda. I know the mayor seat and 3 trustees, one of them being Jen, who was in support, are up this spring election. So,
Wow, imagine losing your political seat over ice cream.
that's kind of what we say is too, like, you're really going to do all this over an ice cream truck?
It's an interesting hill to choose to.
And I will say the problem in Wakanda, though, is these seats run unopposed. There's not enough people that come for these seats. So
on
hopefully
every
this
board.
draws people to come to that. I mean, that's a whole different discussion sometimes. I
Sure.
think government is too big, but I hope some people do come to these positions to see what's going on and consider running for them.
And let's be real here. This isn't about carrying pitchforks and torches to like get rid of them, vote them out. This is about, hey, come on, have a reasonable conversation with us.
Listen to us.
We don't hate you, and we don't even need you to necessarily vote exactly how we want, because you're always going to, upset half of the population, right?
Yep.
But give us reasonable responses to our reasonable questions.
Yep.
And if the data shows you're right, and the reason you said, you can't just say it's dangerous, so therefore it should be gone. You need to show it's dangerous.
Absolutely.
You can't just, and that's to me the problem with overreaching government.
Yep.
There was one trustee who said something when I watched the playback of your meeting last night. I'm very interested in what this is. He had made an accusation of, I'm assuming it was you, because you're the person I know who has the We Scream for Ice Cream
Yes.
Facebook page, accused you of creeping on his 14-year-old daughter. Can you address that? What is that about? And I'm sorry if that's not a comfortable question.
I saw leave to get my wife last night, and I was made aware of this after the fact. But yes, I do run the social medias for this page. I will admit that I do aggressively click, the suggestions and all that sort of thing, go through it.
When you say suggestion, you talk about the suggested friends?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And if I might look to see that somebody is connected to Wakanda, but I'm not clicking on these profiles or anything like that and singling out certain people or anything like that, especially at that age thing. So I think they also tag me on my social medias as my name JR. So there's no secret that they know who's running that page. So I feel that was a calculated thing.
Yeah, I didn't like the aspersion cast because I got to say, did he ever speak to you about that personally before saying that publicly?
He did not. He refused to answer any emails. He has all along. I don't know if I can get in trouble with this. He's actually been a client of mine in the past.